Welcome to this Prepare for IELTS video, in which we are going to answer a really important question, and that is, what is the examiner looking for? So you might have seen our video on band descriptors, and you can look at these two videos together. They will tell you what's in the examiner's mind, and you really need to know this because you need to be doing the things that they want. So firstly, some general information about the exam which you need to bear in mind. A minimum of 250 words. If you write fewer, you run the risk of getting a lower grade for task response, so please make sure you write 250 words. You should use no more than 40 minutes. If you do, you run the risk of getting a lower grade because your task 1 answer will be weak. The essay accounts for 2/3 of your writing grade, so there is quite a good chance that your final grade will be the same as your writing grade. And you don't have to do task 1 first. If you are more comfortable doing the essay, making sure you spend no more than 40 minutes, then coming back to task 1, then that's an option. There are different question types, and many people categorize these differently, but we think we've covered all the bases here. So we have opinion questions, advantages plus disadvantages questions, discussion questions which often also ask for your opinion, problem and solution questions, and occasionally questions which just ask for solutions, and explanation plus opinion questions. Very occasionally there are just explanation questions asking you to explain a situation. These are few and far between. So moving on to task response, this is the first of the 4 areas that the examiner is looking at. These are the band descriptors which the examiner is using, but don't panic, you don't really need to understand those, you need to understand the question. So what actually does the examiner want to see? And firstly, they want to see an answer which fully answers all parts of the question, or all parts of the questions if there are 2. So if you have an opinion question, they want to see your position and they want to see arguments to support that. Advantages and disadvantages, they want to see a couple of advantages and a couple of disadvantages, if possible, well explained. In a discussion plus opinion question, they want you to write about both sides and to say what you think, what your opinion is. If it's problems and solutions, they would like you to put forward a range of problems or causes, and they'd like you to put forward several solutions, probably explaining both the problems and solutions in as much detail as possible. And in the explanation plus opinion question, they want you to explain the situation well and to put forward your position. What do you think? And support all of your ideas. Examiners want a fully developed position which is consistent through the whole essay. So what you write in your thesis or what you write in your introduction needs to be supported all the way through your essay. For example, if in an opinion essay you write in the introduction that you fully support one position, but then you write about the disadvantages of that position, then that's not really logical and you will lose credit for that. You need to use ideas which are relevant and well supported. So quite often you can look at areas such as economics, society, politics, psychology, personal health, and environment and ethics and morality for your ideas, and we have a separate video explaining how to find arguments. Of course, your arguments need to be supported, and we have another video explaining how we can support ideas in main body paragraphs with example, evidence, maybe evaluation, by looking at results, and alternative, by looking at what experts say or what other people say. There are several other options. You need balance, so a similar or correct amount of detail. In an advantages and disadvantages essay, for example, you need to write a similar amount about both sides. It's not okay to write a lot about advantages and just a little bit about disadvantages. You need to use ideas which are not repeated. Of course, in the conclusion, you can refer back to your earlier ideas, but it's important that you don't repeat ideas in the main body. and only information which is relevant. Many candidates look at a question, they realize they can answer a similar question, and they start writing about that, which is not what the examiner is asking for. So you need to stay relevant. You need to stay focused on the question. You need to write in an appropriate formal style. And again, we have another video explaining what formal writing looks like. And if you can write in quite a formal way, that's going to get you credit. Moving on, coherence and cohesion. These are the band descriptors, but you don't really need to look at those. Let's look at what the examiner wants here. And firstly, they want well organized and logical paragraphs. So main body paragraphs will have a topic sentence and one main and well supported point or argument in each paragraph. That's not always true. You can also have list paragraphs sometimes where you have lots of ideas supporting that, but the idea is the same. A main idea supported by evidence, and that's what a main body paragraph will nearly always look like. Topic sentences are really important. They should be precise and quite short. The examiner wants to see logical progression, so the essay needs to feel like a whole, complete piece of writing which develops from beginning to end. If you write a sentence and it's not clear how that's connected to everything else, then you're going to lose credit. All parts need to be connected to the thesis statement. That could be your opinion, your position, or your plan. And all parts of the essay need to be connected to each other. So that relates back to an earlier point. You need to find connections everywhere. If you're writing something and it's not connected to the question or to what you've just written, then be careful. You may be writing in a way which is not very logical, and you may be writing in a way which is not very coherent and cohesive. You can use signposts which indicate to the reader how the following sentence is connected to the previous one or to the overall theme of the essay. So these are words like however and furthermore. Don't overuse them though. We'll come to that in a second. You can use pronouns and determiners, so words which connect one noun or idea to another. So these are words like it and this. And words and phrases which connect clauses and ideas in the same sentence. So words like which and who connect ideas nicely together. You can use other strategies which connect different parts of your writing together. And you shouldn't overuse these strategies. So going back to the point that we had about signposts, it's not a good idea to start every sentence with a word like in addition, or consequently, or however, or for example. Here are the band descriptors for lexical resource. Again, don't panic. Let's focus on our questions. What is the examiner looking for? Lexical resource is vocabulary, and they want vocabulary which is not copied from the question. So try really hard not to copy much from the question. Try to paraphrase. They want vocabulary not repeated, so don't use the same word again and again. Try to learn synonyms and ways of substituting, ways of saying something differently. They want vocabulary which is not basic, so not too many words like big, bad, important, good, nice. And they want vocabulary which is complex and which gives precise meaning. So you need to say exactly what you mean. It's important to understand differences, sometimes very small differences between words, so you can use the precise word that you need. You need vocabulary which has the correct meaning, obviously. Again, many candidates use vague general words instead of precise words which convey an exact meaning. And you need vocabulary with the correct spelling. Examiners are looking for the appropriate use of prefixes and suffixes. These are parts of words which go in front of or after main words. So we have the verb to evaluate, and you can re-evaluate something. To re-evaluate, to evaluate it again. Re is a prefix meaning again, and we have evaluation, and the ation bit is a suffix making it clear that this is a noun. So prefixes and suffixes, a great idea, as are collocations. So collocations are words which naturally go together, which native speakers naturally put together, such as to commit a crime. And chunks of language are a very good idea. So set phrases, phrases based around verbs and nouns, and prepositional phrases, adverbial phrases. So groups of words which native speakers naturally use together. It's a great idea to use these in your writing. Moving on, and now grammatical range and accuracy. Again, don't panic about the band descriptors. Let's see what they really mean. And the first thing that the examiner wants to see is a mixture of complex, compound, and simple sentences. Some candidates think that you should write complex sentences all the time, and this is really wrong, because if you do, it will be really hard for the examiner to follow your meaning. So you need a mixture of sentences. Simple sentences have a really key function in English. They help the reader catch up and understand what message you're trying to put across. You need a range of tenses, so simple, continuous, perfect, conditional, used to, and you also need tenses used accurately and appropriately. That's quite hard with perfect tenses, but if you can, then you get a lot of credit. You need other verb forms used correctly as well, so infinitives, ing forms, passives, and modals, for example. The correct form of word, so you need to make sure that if you need a verb, you've got a verb and not a noun or the adjective or adverb form. It's good when you learn a word to learn the word family. You need to use nouns and pronouns correctly, as well as countable and uncountable nouns used correctly. This is surprisingly common that candidates make mistakes with countable and uncountable nouns. You need to use prepositions correctly, and articles and determiners need to be used correctly as well where possible. You need to use adjectives and adverbs, including comparatives, correctly, and punctuation needs to be used correctly too. If you can add in dashes or semicolons or colons correctly, the examiner will be correct. And you need to have many sentences which do not contain any errors. So to access the higher grades for grammar, then there need to be quite a lot of sentences in your answer which don't have any mistakes at all. We hope that makes sense, and we hope now you feel you know what the examiner is thinking when they are looking at your work. If you go through all of these questions and you can answer yes to most of them, not really all of them, but to most of them, then it's very likely your grade is going to be 7 or higher. The more of these features you can include in your writing, the higher your grade will be. We look forward to seeing you again soon, and thank you for watching.